Welcome to NYC Now, your source for local news in and around New York City from WNYC. It's Wednesday, May 7th. Here's the midday news from Michael Hill.
Elon Musk's hope for a payment app is hitting a roadblock in New York. WNYC's Jimmy Vielkind explains.
Two Manhattan lawmakers say New York should refuse to issue a money transmitter license to X, formerly known as Twitter. The company owned by Elon Musk is seeking approval from all 50 states to launch X Money. It's a payment service that Musk hopes will let X users send and receive money. It would compete with companies like Venmo. State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel says the law requires the State Department of Financial Services to consider whether a business would operate honestly and equitably.
I think most Americans know at this point Elon Musk does not meet that standard.
The Financial Services Department says it holds all applicants to identical, robust standards. X didn't respond to a request for comment.
The Knicks are looking to take an unexpected 2-0 lead in their playoff series against the Boston Celtics. WNYC's Sean Carlson explains.
Game 1 was the type of night fans will be talking about for a long time. New York on the road against one of their biggest rivals, who just happened to be the defending NBA champions. The Knicks were down 20 points in the third quarter, but they just kept chipping away at Boston's lead. New York eventually outlasted the Celtics in an overtime thriller. Still, though, you got to win 4 games to advance to the next round, so the Knicks have plenty of work to do. And last season, the Knicks were up 2-0 on Indiana before being eliminated by the Pacers in 7 games.
68 and partly sunny right now. Slight chances of isolated showers. Mostly sunny and 73, but light wind. Then tomorrow, chance of late morning, afternoon showers, and maybe some thunderstorms. Partly sunny, 74.
Stick around. There's more to come.
WNYC.
This next story is about a group of local student journalists and how they're wrestling with some pretty tough decisions about journalistic freedom, personal safety, and the digital footprint. It comes as journalism more broadly is under intense scrutiny. Joining us is former journalist Debbie Porterfield, who now teaches at the Bronx River High School and serves as the advisor for the student paper, the Bronx River News. Also with us is Cesar Jimenez, who is a student and the paper's editor-in-chief. Debbie, last month the paper was about to publish a series about immigration enforcement. Then it changed course. What happened?
Our students had come to us, and they were really concerned with what was going on in the community and what they were seeing. And so our editor-in-chief assigned a story where everyone was sent out to collect vignettes, observations, photos, or they could do political cartoons. As we were about to publish it, the Student Press Law Center sent out a warning that it might be unsafe for students to express their opinions. This was after the tough student was arrested and detained for reportedly an article she wrote, an op-ed piece about Gaza. I shared a video of the arrest with our students, and I talked to them and asked them what they wanted to do. Some students might be at risk, some families might be at risk, some might not. I honestly don't know. But the students voted unanimously to withhold their bylines in solidarity just so we could go ahead and publish and they could have their voices heard.
Did they withhold their names out of fear?
I don't know. I think some did. I feel like some students didn't turn in their articles. I let it slide. It's not my place, and it's not really ethical for me to ask students' immigration status or their parents' immigration status. I happen to know some of them, but it didn't seem fair that we could publish some names and not others. Plus, it seemed that not publishing some, we were putting a target on students who needed to remain anonymous. It's a tough thing. I believe in free press, and I believe in free speech, but my job is to also make sure my students are safe.
How did you talk about that with your student journalists?
They talked among themselves. I think this is a decision they had to come to. It wasn't a decision I could make for them. Our paper did stories on the problems with FAFSA and how students couldn't share their information. They had done news stories about how businesses were disappearing and business was down and people wouldn't talk to you. Those were news stories. This was an opinion piece, which I feared would put my students in danger.
Cesar, what was that like for you and the other student journalists?
I think that day before the story was posted and Ms. Porterfield showed us the video of the tough students, I think it really showed us like a different side of journalism, because although we got used to, the fun side, the trips and the newsroom, at times, the real world really shows you what's going on. And with this, we had to really think about, what should we do?
Cesar, tell us about the series you guys ended up publishing.
We ended up publishing a story called ICE and an Impact on Our Community. And it was filled with photos, interviews, and stories about, what's happening around, our neighborhood. And it really gave a real perspective on what it was like going down the street and seeing what you normally hope to see, like vendors or people, and they were gone. The staff did a really good job covering like our wide range of what's near us, near our campus. I think a student found a restaurant that they used to really like going to, but now they barely get any traction. And I think that's like the end-all message we wanted to send. Like, what is happening has real results.
Debbie, going forward, if a student wants to publish something that feels like it could be contentious or endanger them in some way or someone else, how will you handle it? And how do you talk through the ethical issues around publishing anonymously?
Well, it's interesting. I think that's why it's so important. The guidance that came out the day before we published this opinion piece was from the Student Press Law Center, which looks out for the legal rights of journalists. And they basically changed their policy that we might be open to takedown requests. I actually went to a student who wrote an article last year in support of Gaza and her concerns about Palestinians and asked her, do you feel comfortable still having your name attached to this? And she did. But I think we have to remember that thing. We're supposed to minimize harm. I want my students to report the truth. I want them to have strong voices, but their parents also entrust me to look out for their safety. And I don't feel like they can fully appreciate the possible ramifications of publishing something right now that goes against the administration's wishes.
Debbie, given the long digital footprint of everything now, how do you advise students who want to publish a story or an opinion that might come back to haunt them in later years if potential employers search their name on the internet, for instance?
So the taking down policy doesn't apply to everything. I think we have to be careful with that. I do believe in free speech, but also as an advisor, I'm careful with what students say. That's one reason I believe our principal gives us the right to publish. As an editor, you are careful what people say. You don't let them make disparaging remarks about people just to publish it, right? So we try to minimize harm. We try to be fair and respectful. And as long as we do that, our students have a voice and they can say what they want. And less doing so would possibly put them in harm's way. And that's where we draw the line.
Cesar, what would you tell other students, maybe in middle school or just starting a high school, what would you tell them about working on a student paper?
I would tell them that they definitely should. I think if you want to get involved in schools the right way, journalism is the way to go. And not only does it allow you to make connections, but it also allows you to step out your comfort zone. It makes you start questioning people. It makes you start becoming more observant of like your normal day-to-day life. I remember being a freshman and not thinking the way I do now, not writing the way I do now, not speaking the way I do now. But being a senior, I can see how journalism has really shaped me as a person. I'm very confident in the way I speak. When I have to speak in front of large crowds, it's easy now. Or if I have to do a man on the street interview, I can do it. And I highly suggest like students who get nervous or students who are shy, that really gets them out of their comfort zone. Journalism not only shows you, MLA format and how to meet deadlines, but it also gets you involved in school. Like, you could join a sports team, but journalism, it's writing. It lets you really invest your time into something that others will read. And I think that payoff is a huge delivery for students. I've seen that getting your name published onto the website and onto an article really increases ambition for students. It lights a fire under them and they want to continue writing. And I think that's really valuable because I know that's how I feel every time I start writing or start editing.
My guests have been Debbie Porterfield, the faculty advisor for the Bronx River High School student paper, and student Cesar Jimenez, the paper's editor-in-chief. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. This is NYC Now from WNYC. Check us out for updates every weekday, 3 times a day for the latest news headlines and occasional deep dives. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
NYC, 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 NYC.